She stood beneath the harsh glare of camera flashes, motionless, composed, wearing the same enigmatic, all-knowing smile that had been driving Brussels bureaucrats to the edge of madness for months. Giorgia Meloni, Italy's first female prime minister, was preparing to unleash something far more dangerous than a political speech. At 47, after years of calculated silence and intricate diplomatic maneuvering, she was finally ready to say out loud what many suspected, but no one dared to name. What she was about to reveal was not designed merely to dominate headlines. It was meant to tear open the darkest secrets of the European Union and permanently alter the political trajectory of the continent itself. But to understand why this moment carried such explosive force, we have to go back to the beginning. Back to the days when a younger, fiercer Giorgia Meloni stormed opposition podiums with raw intensity. She didn't just criticize the EU, she declared war on it. She called it a supranational monster, a bureaucratic machine built to consume national sovereignty piece by piece. She was the unapologetic voice of populist resistance, shouting into what felt like an endless wilderness, warning Europe about unelected elites and institutional overreach. Then came 2022. The moment she stepped into real power, something changed. The woman who once described the EU as a bureaucratic prison was suddenly photographed shaking hands with Ursula von der Leyen, smiling for cameras, speaking the language of diplomacy, and playing the role of the perfect European partner. Critics screamed betrayal. Supporters called it pragmatism. But both sides were missing the real story. The real question wasn't why Meloni changed. It was what she discovered after entering the corridors of power in Brussels. Behind those heavy doors, away from microphones and public statements, Meloni allegedly encountered a reality so disturbing that it forced her to rethink everything. She hadn't been tamed. She was infiltrating the system. While Brussels believed they had absorbed another rebellious leader, Meloni was quietly gathering intelligence, documenting conversations, memorizing threats, observing patterns. The first visible crack in the European facade didn't appear in Rome. It appeared in Paris. On March 31st, 2025, a French court delivered a verdict that sent shockwaves through European politics. Marine Le Pen, a longtime thorn in the side of the French and European establishment, was found guilty of embezzling EU funds. The punishment was swift and devastating. She was barred from public office for 5 years. To casual observers, it looked like justice. To Meloni, watching from Rome, it looked like a political execution. This wasn't about misused funds. It was a message, a warning flare fired into the night sky. Meloni had seen this pattern before. When the news reached Italy, something inside her finally snapped. For the first time since taking office, the mask of diplomatic politeness slipped. Her public response was measured, cautious, wrapped in legal language. But beneath it pulsed a far more dangerous signal. She spoke of democracy under siege, of dissent being criminalized, of millions of voters silenced not at the ballot box, but in courtrooms. European insiders understood immediately what she was saying. Meloni wasn't defending Le Pen. She was signaling that she knew how the system really worked. According to sources close to the Italian government, while Meloni smiled in Brussels, she was privately documenting every veiled threat, every act of institutional pressure, every instance of financial or judicial leverage used to force compliance. She allegedly compiled detailed records of closed-door meetings, internal warnings, and subtle blackmail. In her view, the European Union had mutated from a voluntary alliance of sovereign nations into an authoritarian structure obsessed with self-preservation. The migration crisis exposed this transformation. Italy stood on the front lines of the Mediterranean, overwhelmed, demanding real solutions. But instead of help, Brussels delivered lectures. When Meloni proposed external processing centers in Albania, she was met not with cooperation, but obstruction and ridicule. It became painfully clear Brussels didn't want solutions. Chaos justified power. Migration wasn't the only battlefield. The green transition, the digital agenda, defense centralization. Every initiative carried the same unspoken rule: comply or pay the price. Meloni watched how Hungary's Viktor Orbán was isolated, how EU funds were weaponized against him. She saw Poland punished for asserting constitutional sovereignty. Then came the moment that changed everything. Days before Italy's 2022 election, Ursula von der Leyen publicly warned that if Italy chose the wrong path, Brussels had tools to respond, just as it had with Hungary and Poland. It was institutional blackmail in plain sight. Vote correctly or be crushed. What von der Leyen didn't realize was that she had revealed the system's true nature to the one person patient enough to remember and disciplined enough to wait. As 2025 unfolded, the EU's promises collapsed. Economic recovery faded. Inflation surged. Energy shortages crippled households. The grand vision cracked, and Meloni waited. When she finally spoke, standing beneath the Italian tricolor, the words echoed across Europe. She alleged coordinated lawfare, judicial systems used to eliminate political opposition, funding weaponized to enforce loyalty. Then came her most shocking confession. Her transformation had been deliberate. Every smile, every handshake, every compromise, a ruse, an intelligence operation from within. She claimed to possess recordings, documents, internal communications, proof of a system designed to punish dissent and protect unelected elites. Brussels scrambled, but the damage was done. Meloni didn't call for reform. She declared the moral death of the European Union and warned that the future of democracy would no longer be decided in Brussels, but in national capitals. She entered the belly of the beast and returned with the truth.